Good morning, good afternoon, good night, whenever you're watching this video. I appreciate the support, Cuzzy. My name is Joe Josh. I go by iChart Daily. Today is Saturday, January 13th. I wanted to give you a quick Bitcoin technical analysis video, a window to my thought process, because a lot of you have been asking me what's going on since the approval of all of the Bitcoin ETFs. So, before I start, this is not financial advice. This is just a window to my thought process. It's just like we're chit-chatting at the bar, educational purposes only. So, first thing that I've always been taught is you buy the rumor, you sell the news. Seems like we're getting a short-term sell the news situation. What does that mean? Well, everyone thought that we were going to be pumping, but we're actually down back to 42,000. And you know, I've been saying for literally 2-3 years now that I've been on YouTube, unfortunately not on this channel, it's always F the news and it's always trust the charts. And I've always been saying we use the news of the ETFs being approved to justify why we're holding so much Bitcoin compared to any other asset that you could buy on the market. And now that they are approved, it justifies why you're buying it, right? It's up, this thing is up 2 point something million% since 2011, and all we're trying to do is once again buy more at the best opportunity possible. So what I try and do is I use a skill set that helps me understand where support resistance is, where certain trends are, and help me understand where Bitcoin potentially could go next, and where I, once again hypothetically, will be buying more Bitcoin from my long, short, midterm bags. So the first thing that I look at is I look at a MACD and I look at an RSI. MACD is a trend indicator. When the trend is going up and the shorter time moving average, which is the yellow, is above the green, the trend's going up, we're going up. We're also in section A, which is above the zero line, which is the histogram. The next indicator I use is an RSI. It tells me when the asset is overbought, above or close to the 70, or oversold, close or below the 30 line. There's two sections in both indicators. A, above the zero, B, below the zero, example A and B. Here, above the 50 line, and here, below the 50 line. And it tells you if you are above and you go down to the 50, we could have a continuation to the upside. I'm thinking just to right off the bat, right about here. I think that's where we come down to, like this 37 to potentially 35, 36,000 area. I'll explain how I get to that, right? So I always preach to you, long-term trends will predict the short-term outcomes. And if the long-term trend is now changing more bearish and this starts coming down, right, your zero line represents these lows here. So we could come all the way down to here and not make a lower low. This RSI, I'm watching it to see if it just officially broke the moving average. I'm going to set an alert on the weekly chart around the 68, because if it comes back down to the 50, that means we stay in section A and that we have a continuation to the upside. The continuation to the upside is this. You could literally delete all of this. And in my eyes, a technical analysis person, I don't care what happened. This wave went from here to here. This wave went from here to here. This wave went from here to here. And now we're looking for where is major support. I've said for literally 2.5 years that on the weekly chart, I found a trend that it uses the 11 and 21 day moving average. I was messing around just to see if there was any trend with the 5 and 50, but we're using the 11 and 21, 11 and 21. During the past previous bull and bear markets, you could back test it. It has used the 11 and 21 as support or resistance during the bear markets. Support, resistance. We're here. We're in a bull market. To confirm that we're in a bull market, we go to a monthly chart that shows us that the MACD is pointing up. We're above the zero line in section A, and we are above the moving average, and in section A we're starting to point down, showing me we could have a little small consolidation. So my first thought is I want to see where the yellow and purple line lines up now. Does it line up with 39,000 to potentially 36,000? Yes. The first thing I'm seeing is this level right here of 37.8 down to, let's just say, 36.2. Now, once again, we can go a little bit below. That's why I have this line here. This line is your get rid of it. This line here is your current support line, right? So I'm assuming that we could potentially come back down to these moving average and probably one below, like I said, right about there, 33. So my next buys will probably be around 36.9, 36.69, and then potentially 33.66. I like that number. Now, you start, because you understand what is potentially on the table, you want to start zooming into the 5, the 4, the 3, the 2, and the 1 to see if there's any bearish divergence playing out or what's going on, right? Because this one hasn't happened yet, right? We haven't broken the 70 and we haven't death crossed. So that means the trend hasn't officially moved to the downside yet. But these are trailing indicators, so you can't bet on the weekly. You got to go to the 5, the 4, the 3. So you can see the 5 days about to death cross, right? We officially broke the moving average and we're heading back down to the 50. The 4-day, death cross, heading down to the 50. 3-day, death cross, heading to the 50. Heading to the 50 on the 50. Now that we're on the daily, I want to see if we stay above the 50 or if we break the 50, right? Here we are here. We officially broke below this trend line. I want to see if we use this as resistance and form a lower high here. I want to see if we do something like this, and if the bearish divergence starts playing out on the 2, 3, 4, and weekly, your shorter time frames are going to start looking something like this, right? This is the weekly MACD going up, so you could see we're getting waves to the upside. If the weekly MACD starts to come down, let's just say somewhere over here, right? I'm expecting the waves and the chops to start coming down once again back to this level over here. I am very, very bullish on Bitcoin for the long term. I have been since 17.5, 15.5, 13.5, just because when you zoom out to a longer time frame, you just have to see the blue lines, which are the halvening, right? We didn't even factor in the ETFs. We were just factoring in history, and when the halvening happens, we go up. Halvening happens, we go up. Halvening happens, we goes up. Unfortunately, 75 to 85% corrections each time. The waves are getting smaller and smaller. And once again, anyone could say any number higher than 112,000, but the charts are telling me that. That's officially the top based off the chart. You know, speculation, you could speculate anything. If you're coming to me for technical analysis, that's what I'm seeing just based off the history of the chart. That's it, people. Love you. Appreciate the support. What I would be doing is, once again, weekly, I want to know if this breaks this. I want to know if the weekly starts heading down towards the 50. That means all of the shorter time frames down to the daily are going to start seeing negative and bearish price action like this. You understand? Let me just show you an example, okay? Death cross coming down. Like, I think we're like here right now, like in this upward channel phase, but once we come down and we go down to the 50, it's down here, right? I don't think we break the zero line, but I do think we have a consolidation, right? Here we are here. We're forming that top. You're starting to get that bearish divergence. Once you break the 70 and start heading down, we broke and went from 57,000 to 48,000, right? You could go anywhere in the chart, right here, right? Once the the RSI broke the 70 line and broke the moving average, and we went from 70 to 50. We formed this top here. We went from 11,000 down to 7,700. Right here, RSI was above. Once we broke below and started heading down to the 50, we broke 16,000, head to 7,500. Let's go in the past. Let's go all the way over here, regardless of what was happening. We were up, RSI broke the moving average, broke the 70, we were heading down to the 50, we had a death cross. Bitcoin went from $1,100 down to $400. That's what I'm talking about by trusting the chart and F the news, cuzzy. Love you guys. Any comments, questions, concerns, leave it in the comment section. Alert here at the 68, right? I would then go to the 5-day. I want to know if that death crosses. You could add an alert on your MACD crossing the MACD signal, right? I would also do it on the 4-day if this one happened, right? Okay, so I now want to notify myself if the 5-day happens. If the 5-day happens, then you have a higher probability of the next time frame death crossing as well. And I just showed you 12 years of history of what has happened in the chart, regardless of what was going on in the news. Love you guys. Appreciate the support.